Hi guys, I'm going to be starting off explaining how the database works. So when you open up pgadmin, you should have this when you install Postgres. So you go to the databases, keep going down. Our thing is gyx something to find it. Yeah, this one, GYESFA. Okay, whatever it is. And then you go to schemas, and then you go to public, wherever, and then you just go to tables, and then you should see all the tables that are initialized. Okay, so let me explain this. So the ones that were created before are all the way at the bottom. We're not really using these ones right now, but we are using all the authorized ones and the home underscore whatever. So home 2 I think was created by Tim, but I'm not sure. But we are actually using the home ones because that's the name of our app in Django. So an auth user is the Django initialized users. So if you go to your columns, like this is what we were talking about in the meeting. So this is already given like a unique ID, so you don't need to worry about that. I'll go into how we find that later. Okay, so this is basically that. And if you want to see the data, you just right click and you say view all rows, and then all right, so these are like all the users that have been created. So it's like we have our Ivan Marsic one, and then we have like all of these other ones. Okay, and then they actually hash the password, but I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter because we can still authenticate. And then these are just all these parameters right here are given by Django, but we can't modify that because that's just the authorized one. So if we want to have a profile, we're gonna have to make a separate table. So that's gonna be coming under home underscore like profile or something like that. And then let's see. Okay, so here I opened up the app for us. Let's go. Okay, I'm already signed in. Let me just log out. All right. Okay. So I think we should be logged out. Yeah. I'm not sure who did the logout part, but if that works, then that's good. Let's see if we start trading now. Log in. Yeah, I don't think if I go to my home, will I see Ivan Marsic? Yeah. Okay. So that means logout isn't configured yet. So basically, there's a way to do that. Okay, actually, let me just go to Django, the Django app. So if you go to settings.py, there's this login redirect URL, and there's logout redirect URL. I guess we have to configure that. So that's like where my thing comes in, where I have to like configure all the paths and make sure they match. So that's what I was talking about. And then, okay, let me just go to create league because that's more straightforward. Okay, so you go to create a league and you have your form here, right? So you put in all your information. So how does Django actually get the data? So you go to create league HTML. Okay, so and your views.py. Okay, how do I do this? Okay, so new league. So we have a in our models.py, we have our league. So it has name, universal, number of players, begin date, end date, starting balance, all this other stuff, okay? All the stuff that we defined before. And then we have our player, and then we have, I think that's all we need right now, a league and a player. And users, we're not using this user that's here at the top. We're using the authorized user, so I guess, yeah, so when you have this import here, it says import user as auth user. And then when you have our foreign key here under player, it's settings.auth user model. So that would be our foreign key for using the authorized Django user model. And then in create league here in your HTML file, the way you actually get the data is you have a reference to all the parameters that are defined in your views.py. So like for example, let's see, please enter a valid league name. Okay, so here, wherever it says input, is where you actually put in the parameter for your form. So, so L name, if you go to views.py, when I have a new league, so this is the method for the new league, right? So, first you have to get the current user. That's the first thing you do, and then post is like the method that's in the form. So when you have your HTML form here, it's form right here. Form action new league method equals post class. Okay, this class stuff doesn't really matter. That's HTML stuff. But your method needs to equal post. So that means it's going to do like a post to the database. Means update the database basically. And then your action is a hyperlink to the views method. So here it's new league. So when you go to views.py, it's going to be new league here. And then request is just like, I guess, a default command basically, or like whatever instance you are at that point. So current user will get request.user, and then your request.method is post because that's what was in the form. And then current user is authenticated. That means you're logged in. So you check those conditions first. If that's not the case, then I'll basically just redirect you back to the sign up form, and that's going to just render that HTML form again, basically. I didn't really think about that too much. And then you create a form instance. So actually, wait, there's forms.py. I did not show that. Okay. So forms.py, you have same thing, except this time you have to format it. You can't use your models.py. So like in models.py, we have like the exact, like what we want it to be stored in the database. So we need our date time and we need our starting balance and we have like as an integer and Boolean and all that, right? So, but we can't do it like that because when you have your form, it's the users entering data in string format. So you just need to like you need to parse the strings and like format it and like all that kind of stuff. So that stuff you can do in views.py, but the input, the type that you want from the form is going to be like a string. So then you use char field, and then so your start balance would be okay. Yeah, that would be a decimal field, and then depending on whatever you have in your forms.py, when you configure like the errors for in the form, it'll automatically display like the right kind of errors. So it'll say, oh, this is not a valid decimal, or it's not two decimal places because you've defined it here in your forms instance. And then like if you want, like suppose actually no, this is not here. Okay. And then you go to views.py and so, okay, yeah. What was I saying? I completely forgot. Okay, so yeah, like start balance, no, not start balance. End date is in a char field type, but if you go to your views.py, I want it in a date time format, right? So basically what I have to do is I get the date as an end date from like because in my forms.py it's a char field and it's called end date. So when you okay, so let's go back to okay, this is kind of complicated. So if you go to createleague.html, you should have a parameter in your form called end date with a capital D. So this green, like this thing in quotes, like the dot get, and then you have your parameter. So that parameter should match exactly what's in the HTML. I made it different on purpose so I could like specify what I'm talking about. So end date with a capital D is going to be in your form. And if you go here, please enter end date, yeah, right here. So you have name equals end date, and that's going to be in your input part. So your input part and whatever you specifies your name needs to match exactly what you're trying to get in from the form. So, and then you go to back to your views.py here. So you get the end date from the form, and then you have it saved as like whatever that returns. And then, oh, this was just a debug print. And then I would just basically parse it to get the right thing. But we probably won't have to do this for a lot of the fields. This was just the most complicated one. And then like for Booleans, for example, I'll just check it if the user entered okay, so that's a radio button, right? So you can't really have like a true or false thing for that. So you set your radio button in the form to like a certain string. So like for is crypto right here, like they basically just check this or this, right? So when you go to your form here, um where is it? Okay, so yeah. Uh Okay, so this is your input and it's your league type. So that's just that's the parameter I'm trying to get. Yeah, where's my views.py? Yeah, so then it'll get league type is this, right? That's the one we're getting. So that's going to give us league type. But our value is going to be a certain string. So if it's a stock, if it says stock, then it's going to be stock. If it's not, it's going to be crypto. I don't know if I'm going too basic for you guys, but like I feel like this is not as clear as it says on the website. So here, where am I? Okay, so yeah, so basically I just check if it's true or not, and then I set that as true, and then basically, so once you get all the data using clean data.get, so clean data just I don't know exactly what that does, but I used it. And so then you create a new league instance and then you call it using your model. So this league right here is calling the models. So when at the top, I import here, models, import user, like I import all my models. So it's basically just using this league here. And then I'm creating a new instance. I set all my parameters to whatever I got. Whatever I got here, I'm setting it in the thing. So like current user, well, no, current user is given. So current user.id gets the ID of the user. So that saves the ID. And the name is l.name. So that's what we got from the form right here. Number of players is 1. Oh yeah, that's just like something I set because it's initializing. And then right after I create a league, I save it to the database because the way the player and the league interaction of the database is you need to have a league before you have a player. So, and your user is already there, so that's fine. So then you create your league and your user, once you have both, then you can create your player. So your player is here, I call the model, I create a new player. Well, okay, I set the league ID as the same thing as the new league, and then user ID would be your current user again. And this time it's not getting the ID, it's getting the current user because the foreign key was the type of the user. I don't know I don't know if that's clear, but you can ask me that later. And then buying power is the start balance and all that stuff. Okay. And then after everything is saved into the database, you basically just redirect them to their dashboard, and that's like basically everything's done. Otherwise, and this is all under if the form is valid, like if they entered everything right. If they didn't enter everything right, then you're gonna render the form again. And the way they see the errors is from the HTML. So let's go back to that. Wait 1 second, let me get some water. Okay, I need seltzer. Okay, so so the way you check that is okay, so right under the form line right here, you have to have this CSRF token. I don't know exactly what that does, but you need to have it. And then under that you put non-field errors, so just general stuff about the form that might be wrong. And then under every or like before every single form input, you need to put like the errors for that specific thing. So I have form.lname.errors, right? And remember how forms has like an lname field in there, so that's how you access all the errors for it. That means like something was entered wrong. I feel like I'm losing my voice. Okay, and then okay, so you just keep going. like that for every single field, and you just put the errors there. There shouldn't be any errors for radio buttons because that's just straightforward. And there's already a default. It's always checked as the stock one. Yeah, because I have this checked parameter right here. Okay, so that's basically forms in general. I don't know if you guys want more in depth for forms because I think they're all like that. For buy and sell, I think it might be a little more complicated because you need to actually retrieve stuff from the database, not just get stuff from a form and then save it. But there's a way to do that, and I can explain that a little more. But yeah, a separate video for that. Hopefully this is good. Oh yes, and then urls.py. So anytime you have a new views like method that renders like a certain page or something like that. So this was a new league, right? And then I have that linked from my form that goes to new league. So I guess if you have like multiple forms in a page or something, you can have multiple views. So for that, you would just need to add a path every time. So like, and then that's just like straightforward. You just have the same thing. The only thing that was different than when I had to add was like the login part, and that was it was this one here. Okay, path.accounts include, so this, wait, I actually have that open for you. So this path accounts.login, so anytime they go to login, it's from the inbuilt Django like paths format. So I can show you that here. Not here, not here. Yes. So here, when you have this thing included in your thing basically includes all of these. So it includes your login, password change, reset. Obviously, we haven't figured out how to do this, but basically, this is what I was talking about the logout thing. So if we can configure that to in like the drop down menu to include this logout part. So then it would say input equals input whatever, and then name equals logout. So then it would just do the whole logout process. You wouldn't even have to do that. I think the login also was kind of easy like that. I don't remember exactly I think it's accounts.login because here, let's do this. Yeah, so if I go there, it should be coming accounts.login. That's how I set it up. But right now it just says user ID. I guess here, I don't know. Let's do Christine's password. David. Okay. Okay, so I guess that works. Yeah. Yeah, so that's how you do the inbuilt. So there's like a whole thing with the paths and how to have to configure that. Like, um, so the way I can just explain what I understood from my understanding, but I'll have to do this myself. Um, so Django has a way to take in input parameters. So the way you have your path configured is like, okay, for example, this one is like articles in year month. So your first in your views, your method would have like the request, which is already has to be there in every single views thing, and then you would just add like a year and month parameter, and then you would just do stuff with that. So like I can figure that out later, but I think this is good for now. So thanks for listening. Bye.